During my wedding, my mother saw my fiancé for the first time and yelled at her, "Get away from my son!" She was pointing at Elena, who was walking down the aisle, dressed in white. "You're supposed to be dead! How are you here?" My mom kept yelling. Her hand was shaking violently. I looked over and noticed that Elena's face had gone completely pale. Not confused pale, though. She looked like something had just clicked in her brain, but this was the first time they'd ever seen each other. You see, my mother had spent the last 2 years of her life in a coma. Intruders had broken into her home and beat her unconscious. She woke up 3 weeks before the wedding. I insisted she come, meet and see me marry the girl of my dreams. And now here she was, hyperventilating the moment she laid eyes on Elena. My mom clutched her chest mid-scream. Her eyes rolled back. She slumped in the wheelchair and fell flat on the ground. Guests started screaming. I rushed over to my mom while Elena stood frozen in the middle of the aisle, the veil trailing behind her. Paramedics came minutes later and rushed my mother away. I went with them, and at the hospital I was told they'd have to operate. I stayed there overnight still wearing my tuxedo. Elena didn't show up at all, which was equally strange as it was heartbreaking. In the morning, the doctors came to me and told me my mother had lived, but she'd be in a vegetative state for the rest of her life. She couldn't speak to me anymore, couldn't give me the answers I desperately needed. I sat there holding her hand, wondering why she reacted like that. Then at 11 a.m., Elena showed up at the hospital. She looked like she hadn't slept, had a hoodie and jeans on. She sat next to me, but wouldn't look me in the eye. After a few minutes of silence, I asked her if she knew my mother somehow. Instead of answering, she started asking me weird questions of her own. Where did your mom live before the coma? Did she ever live on the East Coast? What kind of car did she drive when she was younger? I asked her why she wanted to know. Just curious, she said, but her hands were shaking. She left after 20 minutes. I sat there wondering why she needed to know all that. That's when I made the connection. Elena's parents had died in a hit and run when she was 7. She was in the back seat and barely survived. They never found the person responsible. Her aunt raised her after that. Elena never liked talking about it. No way, that can't be true, I thought to myself. Still, I decided to go back to our apartment when I knew Elena wasn't home. I went through her private desk drawer, the one she'd always begged me to never look in, and inside I found a folder full of police reports, photos of a wrecked car, notes in her handwriting with dates and locations, a newspaper clipping about a hit and run from 20 years ago. 2 victims killed on impact. Driver fled the scene. Elena had been investigating this her whole life, trying to find the person who killed her parents. I felt sick reading through it. I put the folder back. Then I drove to my mother's house to pick up some of her things. While packing, I noticed a locked box in her closet. I found the key in her nightstand. Inside were newspaper clippings about a car accident from 20 years ago. My hands started shaking. It was the same accident from Elena's folder. Same date, same location, same victims. There were photos of a blue sedan with the front end smashed in, insurance documents showing my mother sold that car 2 weeks after the accident, and a handwritten note tucked at the bottom, my mother's handwriting. I check on her every year. She looks more like her mother every time. I drop the note. My mother killed Elena's parents. That's why she recognized her at the wedding. That's why she screamed, "You're supposed to be dead." She thought everyone in that car had died. I never knew any of this. I drove back to our apartment with the box from my mother's closet. Elena was home by now, and when she opened the door and saw my face, she looked worried. "What's wrong?" I barged in without answering. I took her hand and led her onto the couch. "I think my mother killed your parents." She laughed like she knew I was telling the truth but didn't want to believe me. Then I showed her the clippings from my mother's apartment, the photos, the note that confirmed she had killed Elena's parents. Elena read it and her whole body went still. Then she started shaking, then crying. She told me everything. She was 7 years old, sitting in the back seat. A car ran a red light and slammed into them. I watched my mother's head physically snap off her body. My father had blood leaking from his ears. She described how the other driver got out, looked at the wreckage, looked right at Elena screaming in the back seat, and ran. Left her there with her dead parents covered in their insides. Elena was trapped for 40 minutes before someone found her. She spent her entire adult life trying to find that woman, and now she did. She cried for what felt like years. That night, Elena came to me in tears. "I love you, but I can't do this. Every time I look at you, I see her face. I can't marry the son of the woman who murdered my parents and left me screaming in the wreckage." I didn't argue. She walked to the door. "I'm sorry. I really thought you were my person." She left forever.